Woof. Okay. Hi. Oh my God. It's me, your manic pixie dream girl. Welcome back to the Eve Ellenbogen show. I'm your host. My name is Eve Ellenbogen, blah, blah, blah. Hey, thank you so much to everybody who has been listening, commenting. I ran into a friend of mine, and he's a Persian gay man who I love, and he said, I listened to your podcast. Who knew women had something to say? So thank you for anyone who I don't get offended by people shit talking, as long as at the end of it they're like, yeah, it was good. I'm making my computer dark because if it's light I can't focus. Anyway, hey, before I get into anything going on, I'm not going on tour. I have some shows coming up soon. So one I have in London in a couple weeks. It's April 9th at Top Secret Comedy Club, 6 p.m. Tickets on their website. Tickets in my bio as well. Eve Elbow on Instagram, and I'll put it in my YouTube in the description for the show. And then May 2nd, I have two shows. One at the two shows at the Velveeta Room on 6th Street in Austin, Texas. One at 8 p.m., one at 10 p.m. Also tickets, link in my bio, blah, 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 and the thing. And then at the end of June, I'll be in Orlando and elsewhere in Florida nearby. I'm trying to put together a little tour. You know, it's hard. I think what I really need is a wife. Or a girlfriend. I mean, I'm straight, but a boyfriend wouldn't do these things. I need someone to be encouraging in the way that only women can be, who will say to me, you are so, like babe, you're so, once the people know, they'll love you. And then I'll go, you think so, honey? And then she'll, speak to her friend's father about me. And like in the old days, like the Bob Dylan days, where you just felt like you had to get your big break. And that still kind of exists, except really it's not about meeting your friend's dad who's a comedy booker. It's actually about just having someone who believes in you enough that you can tell yourself that people need to see your content online. And then you do it, and then you have a career. And if you haven't noticed, I'm really bad at these things. I want to be releasing the podcast every Tuesday. I've missed a week here and there. Now it's not Tuesday. It's going to come out on Wednesday, blah, blah, blah. I never put up clips, but I'm getting there. I'm going to do it. I'm reading Zen and the Art of Happiness. That's where my head is at. It's been a dark, difficult time in my life, but I'm getting through it. And I'm reading self-help. Zen and the Art of Happiness is by, I think, Chris Prentice. I'll get into it. But the point is, I need a wife. And I need a wife, or let's be real, I think that for women, why am I making this about women? For me, I need to come. My father told me he wants to start listening to this podcast, so I'm having a difficult moment right now. I'm like, do I really be honest and be myself? And then my dad is going to hear it. Or do I not? What do I do? Do I go, I really need a good workout at the gym and no, I need to come by the hand of another, like in a way that is unexpected. It can't be, sorry, Dad, if you're watching, just turn this off, or but the thing is, he's going to call me and go, how do I turn off YouTube? Because it's like, it's so difficult. But just, if you're watching, stop. You don't want to know me in this way. Okay. You think you do. You're trying to be supportive. That's so sweet, but just, or find a way to skip ahead several minutes. Okay. But please don't call me to ask how to do that, because I can't. I'll kill myself. Okay. If you call me and you go, how do I get past the part where you're talking about how you need to be dick down? Oh, anyway, I mean, this is a possibility for those of you who are not my father and you're going, He's not. That sounds like an exaggeration. My father called me tonight to ask me how to turn on the closed captions on the TV. And then he called me back a few minutes later to tell me that he'd turned him off himself. And I was genuinely really happy for him. I'm not complaining about my dad. I love my dad. I just saw him. He just turned 91 last week. Happy birthday, Milt. We love you. You shouldn't be watching anymore at this point. But there is a possibility that I put in I put in a Roku for him. I have not really walked him through how to use it, but he did insist on me putting YouTube on the Roku so that he could watch my podcast on the big TV in the living room. And I don't think that's good for either of us. So anyway, I'm really having a crisis moment here as I get into it, because I'm like, I don't want to tell my dad that in order to be more successful, I have to come more with not a stranger, but with not myself. But also, I feel like I just need to say that. I feel like that's part of why male comics are successful. If you look at a male comic's life, it really doesn't matter. Like, hold on. I need to rejuvenate. I spilled on myself. It's Gerald Steiner, the whatever sparkling water that is better than Pellegrino. I was a real Pellegrino girl for a long time. Now I'm a Gerald Steiner girl. I can't actually say it, but they're usually over $3 a bottle. Blasphemous. They used to be in the $1, $1.80, $1.60. Then COVID happened, blah, blah, blah. And now they're really expensive. I found them at a little store near me, not telling you where, $2.40 a bottle. I bought all of them. I bought 7, I think. I was like, I don't care. This is the problem with America. Oh, everybody buys up the toilet paper. Everybody guzzles all the gas. I'm buying up all of my water when I find it on sale. I don't care. This is already better than the last one I recorded that you'll never see, because in that one, I think I've started to get a little bit too worried about the structure of everything in my life. I'm like, I need a morning routine. I mean, I have a morning routine. I need an evening routine. I probably do need an evening routine, but with the podcast, I'm like, maybe I should make notes. What's interesting? What's in the news? What's funny? And it's like, the more I try to plan things out, the less interesting it gets. So what male comics have that female comics don't is that male comics, if you look at their lives, because I know a lot of these people, they're like some of my closest friends, and a lot of them are barely getting by, but there's a woman around who's just like believing in them, and you're like, have you ever seen him perform? Because you shouldn't believe in him. Like, he's not interesting or funny or kind or talented or good looking or rich. He is no one. He's just a man. I'm not talking about all comics here. Don't get weird. But just, this is true of enough. It's like he's just a man who's willing to stand on stage and hold a microphone and say dumb shit. And the women, not only do they believe in them, but they'll come to like a mic, like an open mic, and wait. I mean, it's like, if we're going, like, if I'm the girlfriend, if I'm not a comedian, if I go back in time and I'm meeting this guy and he wants me to like come with him, we're dating, and he's like, come to my open mic, and I'm not performing, I'm just watching. I'm like, rape me before you make me like, because then I can identify what happened. I can go, oh, like, that's illegal. That was wrong. I'm reporting, I'm whatever. It's changed me, and there's targeted therapy. But to go sit in an open mic, by the way, I've been assaulted. I can make that joke, because I was like, oh, do I talk about that? I'm allowed, okay? But to sit in an open mic with no skin in the game, it's like, I hope that those guys are going down on those women, but I know they're not, because I hear them talk about sex. It's like, if you go to Creek in the Cave any midnight during the week, for the most part, not the weekends when they have a nice show, but like most, like on a Tuesday or Wednesday or I don't know about Tuesday, but whatever, Wednesday, Thursday, and you're there and it's like midnight and there's 4 people and there's always like some girl just supporting, and you're like, what's going on? I need that. I need a guy who will do that for me, or a girl, just somebody to believe in me and go, you can do this. Actually, I do have that in a way. I have my friend Hannah, who is my OG girl. We always used to she used to come with me and watch me do open mics in South Korea when I was brand new. It was like a million years ago. It was 2013, 2014. I would take her yoga class in Itaewon, and she's British, and then we would get dinner, and then I would freak out about my 4 or 5 minute spot at the open mic at Tony's Australian Pub, which is no longer there. And I remember being like, Hannah, I just can't even talk about it. I'm so nervous. And looking back, it's so funny, because you're probably better off at an open mic just going up and going, I don't know, I get gas when I eat kimchi, like, relative to the time. But I would really freak out, and I tried so hard, and I didn't know that you're supposed to like work on material. I thought you had to do like a new thing every week. But she would fucking come with me to dinner, and then we would go to the open mic, and I would do my set, and she'd watch me, and I would stay too, but we would stay the whole show, like 2 or 3 hours. And it was always like just the comics, and a big night was like we had like 4 people in the audience. I never made her come. I don't know why she's such a good friend, but she is, and she watches most of these episodes. And I'm going to be in London. I'm leaving in a few days to visit Hannah, and I have mentioned before that she has cancer and has just finished chemo and is not really feeling well. And I think this week especially is having a hard week. So shout out to Hannah, girl. You're genuinely the reason I ended up doing stand-up. I would not have continued. And she always says, that's not true. And I'm like, it is true. You're wrong. And so I think when I am wishing for the equivalent of a comedy wife or girlfriend or some like unicorn guy to be so supportive, I'm really just missing Hannah, who has her own stuff going on at the moment that's really hard. And so but you know what, she still manages to watch every fucking episode of this podcast immediately. Yeah, what a fucking angel, Hannah. So Dad is probably not watching. Hannah probably is. Both very supportive in different ways. But I was going to say, I prefer Hannah's support in this capacity. My dad raised me. That was good. My dad changed my diapers, but it's hard letting your parent see your stand-up or your not stand-up, your podcast, because also it's like I say these things, and then if you look at like the view count, I don't think he knows that it's only getting like 50 views, if that. And so then it's like, you're talking about your sex life to no one? Like, what? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I gotta build an audience, and I'm gonna make clips, and I'm gonna publish that in podcasts that live on the internet for as long as you keep them there, whatever. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. So that's, I'm gonna be in the UK. I'm gonna be in Austin. I'm going to be in Florida. I'm going to be in your dreams. What's new? There's so many things I was thinking of that I was like, oh, I want to talk about this on the podcast. And then I didn't make any notes, because I feel like when I make notes, it stunts me. it hinders my creative abilities. I've been flirting a lot lately. It's good. I'm a flirt. I love a flirt. I flirt. I feel almost like a guy in the way that I get like riled up by flirting. But it's distracting sometimes. Like I can get so caught up that I'm like, what should I be doing? And I'm like, I got to do the dishes. I got to fold the laundry. Sometimes I get like so in it. Does anyone else I just am a very horny person. This is the last time I'm going to say this. I know it's going to get boring for people to hear me say this, but Dad, if you are listening, you must stop. You have to. For the sake of my life and sanity, you have to turn this off. I'm a very horny person, and I kind of thought that like maybe menopause was coming for me because I went through a while where I was just not that horny, and I was like, God, like I'm so young. I'm only 41, and I thought I had all these like egg laying years ahead of me and like years of masturbation and fantasy and all these things. And I was like, I guess it's over. But then I realized I just wasn't feeling good. When you're just like not feeling your best or whatever, you're not that horny. But then, I don't know, you get a new moon, you get a fun new shirt or something. I got new underwear yesterday. No big deal, but some of them look really good. The hard thing about underwear is you can't try them on, and then I guess you can return them, but I'm not gonna go back to Target to return. Target has these in like every Target. There's like a set of drawers. They've actually expanded because it must be really successful. They have like their underwear drawers, not the ones on like little hangers, but like you open up the drawer and there's all these like fun designs, and they have them by like, these are the high-waisted, these are the thongs, these are the booty shorts, whatever. It's usually limited to like, well, it used to be limited to like 10 different kinds, and then it was like 5 for $20. I spent almost $100 on underwear yesterday. Like, I don't know, but I'm feeling it. What can I say? I'm really. When I get riled up, I can't help it. I've been preparing for this trip to London. I went and got a new suitcase today. Buying a suitcase, I can't tell. I'm like, is this really where I'm going with this podcast? I think it is. I'm looking at the suitcase now. I'm going to show it to you. Okay. All right. I got this on the advice of my good friend, James McCann. You knew it was coming. He said, buy a Brit bag. It was between this and, hold on. Okay. Ta-da. It's a nice one. It's mint green. Between this one and another one that I looked up that was a good brand. But it came down to, I can't believe I'm even talking about this. But it really came down to, this is what the little things in life are about. On the inside, will I show you? No, it's too hard to show on camera, but you know how like where the underwear, like the zippered compartments are for the underwear and stuff, like, and on all these things they have like half of it and you zip it and you can like lock your clothes in little clothing jail behind one sheet of whatever it's made of, nylon, polyester. I don't know what these things are made of, but there's always like a zipper in there and you can put your underwear in there. And that's convenient, but it's always like bulging out. And then the other side is like an open side where you just like throw things and then you forget which side had what. And when you open it, it all goes fucking everywhere. But this one, it has a zipper little part on where the underwear goes and the socks. And then it also has part that you just like pull out and you can put your shoes in there. You know what I'm talking about? A couple of different compartments where like it's kind of like got an elastic on it. That's what sold me. Because I was like, I really hate putting my shoes on the other side. Then you got to find a bag to put them in. I like to use reusable bags, so then I have to wash them every time. This is what life is about. It's about little dumb things that it's like the two roads diverged in a woods. What is it? The Road Not Taken, Robert Frost. No big deal. I like read poetry, but it's like, he talks about, you make your choice, and it's way leads to way, and this and that. And you always think, oh, I'll go back. I'll take the other road one day, but you never do. And so this was my little fork in the road moment where I was really debating. I can't tell you how many people got involved in my suitcase process today. I did not invite them in, but there were a lot of women in the suitcase section of TJ Maxx who really wanted to help me make this choice. Like, I've never had that before, where I just had so many people being like, oh, okay, you're deciding what? And one woman I could tell she was really upset about the color, because she was like, well, it's really going to show a lot of marks and wear. And I was like, yeah, that's not really my main. I don't care if it gets, if it looks, I don't care if things look new or old. I just don't care. It's not my priority. But I get why she would. She was very kind of particular. But it's like, I was like, yeah, it's not a priority for me. I just like this and this and this. And she was like, okay, well, I guess. And then she gets involved, and she's like, I guess excluding. Okay, so so you don't care if it gets dirty. It will get dirtier, but you don't care. But you. And like 3 or 4 times she went through it and was weighing the pros and cons between different bags, and every time she mentioned that I don't care that it'll get dirty, but it will get dirty. Finally, at the end, she left it out of her thing, and she went, okay, good, so you've made your decision. Oh, that's good. It's a good bag. And she didn't say it again. I thought she's made peace with it. she's okay with it now. And, by her foot, there was a $1 bill that had fallen on the floor. And I said, oh, there's some money. One of us could take it. It's just $1. And she goes, it's not yours. And I go, no, it's what the universe gave you for helping me make this choice. I was trying to make a little joke, here, take a tip. And she was like, no, maybe I'll just bring it to the front. As in, you're going to turn in a spare $1. It's weird. When you meet people and you are in their world for a little bit, and you're like, God, your world it's not kinky weird, it's not like you're weird, oh my goodness, this woman, has little naked elves as chairs or something. I don't know, it's not freakish. It's just weird. I can't even imagine the prison of the mind to not keep $1 on the floor. I didn't pick it up because at that point I felt rich from the generosity of her spirit. I felt like she'd contributed to my experience. Then I met another woman. Well, I guess I exaggerated when I was talking about the people who were helping me in that section, because the next woman I met, we were both waiting in line to pay, and we each had a suitcase, and she had chosen one that I deliberately did not choose. It was a Kenneth Cole brand suitcase, and I feel like that is always a mistake, because that's not a suitcase brand. Kenneth Cole they're a shoe brand and a bag brand. You're getting them as a suitcase, it's going to fall apart in a minute. And it was also more expensive than my bag that I can't stop looking at. Stop, you're too pretty. Stop, you go over there. But it was more expensive and probably worse made. But she said she was getting it for her son, and he's going on a senior trip tomorrow. And last weekend they went for spring break, or 2 weeks ago, and they missed their flight at Austin Airport because they got there early, but it took over 3 hours. Everybody gets defensive when I tell them they should get pre-check. I have TSA pre-check. I don't, I used to say not everybody should get pre-check because then it doesn't matter if you have pre-check, because then we all have pre-check. But the truth is, I don't care. I don't need to gatekeep because no one gets pre-check. I'm so disorganized, and I have pre-check. It's an essential need. If you travel, what are we doing? I got mine. I filled out a form at Office Max, I think, or I filled it out online, and they gave me an appointment time. I went with my passport. They took my photo. They took my fingerprints. I filled out a thing. I paid $60, $70. That was it for 4 years or something. I have pre-check. I see all the people lined up through the thing. I just walk straight in, and I get to go through, and I deserve it. I do. But also I paid for it. So that's why I deserve it. I deserve it spiritually, and I deserve it because I actually paid for the service. By the way, I feel like I don't have a joke about it, but I have thought about it being funny as a reel. Isn't that so bad that I'm like, what do you think of this reel? I should just make the reel. But it's just that I feel I have zone 4, like boarding zone 4 energy. I'm a boarding zone 5 gal with boarding zone 4 energy. Is that anything? Maybe boarding zone 3 energy, depending on what phase I'm in of my period. You know, if I'm ovulating, which is like the hot period, hot phase, you know, when you're just like, I don't know, my skin's like glowing, then I'm boarding zone 3, I think. But in reality, I'm 5. Sometimes 6, generally 5. And the only reason I have 5 is because I buy my, I go on Delta and I buy it with my Delta Sky Miles card, which, by the way, like, yeah, you get to be in boarding zone 5. So you're not the last person on the plane, but there's the perks. I mean, sure, you get miles, and I got a lot of miles when I signed up for the card. Now I've used them all, but I didn't choose. When I went back to New York recently, and I did 2 flights because I fly to Atlanta. Terrible. I will not fly to Atlanta again unless I'm flying to Atlanta before I go to London, but that's because it's international. Fine. But when I fly to White Plains, New York to see my family, I will not fly through Atlanta again, because Atlanta is apparently the busiest airport in the whole world, and they have the worst food choices and also the worst design for food. So it's like, it's like all centralized, but there's no things in the little areas going towards the gate. Whatever. Charlotte Airport's janky. Detroit is where it's at. Detroit Airport is amazing. I'm a Detroit girl from now on. But when I flew back, I flew through Atlanta, and I go Austin, Atlanta, White Plains. And you always get those little janky planes on the way to White Plains. That's fine. That's like one of the ones that crashed at LaGuardia yesterday over the fire truck. But that, you know, it didn't crash because it was janky. It crashed because why would we have enough people working in the control tower when we could just not have that many people there, and we could just crash sometimes? Why would you pay the people who work at the airports to work at the airports when you could just not, and then see what happens? That's what's fun about this country. We were like, for a long time, we were like, this is America. After World War II, we have everything. We will have the best of everything. We're not allowed to have mistakes. We had Boeing. We have all these really amazing companies. We will be the best. We'll be perfect. And for a long time, we were really proud of that. And then we were like, but what if? What if we just like made more money? And by we, I mean like the people at the top, and like didn't do any of those things. Like, what if we made it not as good or as safe, but we charged even more and gave that money just to like a few people? How would that go? And you know what? For those people, I think it's actually going really well. Like, I think for like the 7 people, maybe 15 at the top who are doing well, I think they're actually doing great. Yeah, they might be getting divorced. Some of them have been named as pedophiles, but it's like, the point is that they have so much, you know. What does it matter? What is a pedophile when you have all the money? It's just a guy with extravagant taste. It's the caviar of sexuality, right? For those who can afford it. Fun. I'm glad I've stopped making notes. That way we can always test how long it takes me to say pedophile in each episode. I don't know how quickly I get to it in all of them, but I know that it appears at random in most. Anyway, I took flights. I flew through Atlanta, then I flew from Atlanta to White Plains. I didn't book a seat because I'm like, whatever, these are both short flights. The huge mistake I made on the way there, because I wanted to spend time with my dad and my stepmother because they were going on a cruise. And I was like, I'm flying in on Wednesday. They were getting on the cruise on Saturday. I'm like, well, if I get in early on Wednesday, then I'll have Wednesday to spend with them. Why do I do that? It's like my flight was at 4 a.m., 4:30 in the morning. So I like had to wake up at like 2:45. I didn't even go to bed till midnight or after. So I slept for probably an hour. And then, of course, I got in. I felt like shit and I slept. I think I got mad at my dad. I can't remember, but, it wasn't real. It was just exhaustion. But I didn't choose seats because I'm like, well, you got to pay extra for the seats. They're both short flights, whatever. I have the fucking Delta SkyMiles card. You would hope that they would, I don't know, like be a little bit thoughtful. Like, well, she's a member of our rewards program. She flies Delta all the time. She's not one of the fat cats, but like, come on. They put me in front of the bathroom. Not only that, but my seat didn't recline because it was like near an emergency exit. So I'm like, so both flights were horrible. Like all of the flights were horrible. I mean, they weren't horrible. It's just a seat not reclining sucks. Sitting across from the bathroom, there should not be a seat across from the bathroom. Why are we doing this? Why do 2 to 3 people on every plane have to eat shit air? That's what happens. It's like, oh, you don't want to pay $35? Well, enjoy a little bit of someone's diarrhea in the ether, in the vapor. You cheapskate. Like, it's like, what the hell? Like, that's what happens. That's what it is. That's what I heard a doctor talk about that recently. He was an Instagram doctor, so I don't know if he was really a doctor. But he did say fart air is poop particles that become airborne, which makes sense. So yeah, think about that next time you smell one. You'll be like, I think I heard something really disturbing. What was that? Oh, I'm inhaling little bits of someone else's poo. It can't be completely true, right? Because sometimes you fart and there's no smell. And sometimes you fart and it's like everybody needs to leave this room. And it's not like the velocity. It's not like, of the air, of the fart air. And that can be through clothes and layers of blankets and whatever. So maybe that's not true. Maybe that's like instead of like an urban myth, it's like a Instagram doctor myth. Here's a segue. I am reading that book I mentioned before, Zen and the Art of Happiness. Things are hard when I start rereading self-help. Like as I sit here on the floor, I'm like, oh yeah, there's The Alchemist. When will I get to that one? Here's the Tao Te Ching. Hold on, I'm gonna just read. The Tao Te Ching is written by Lao Tzu in ancient China, and it is the basis of Taoism, I guess. I don't know. It's like, how many are they? There are. This one is a Stephen Mitchell translation. So it's the lamest thing I could possibly say, but the truth is I have read other translations and this one's the best one. This one has an explanation of what they mean that really takes away from it. There's basically like little poems. They're not poems, but they're like little, Chinese things basically. And there's 81 of them. And they're really beautiful. So when I was in Korea, when I was like 25, I think, 24. What was that? 1910? No, it was like 2009 or 2010. I was so depressed. Like, I was so depressed that I thought I was gay. I'm sorry. That's such a weird thing. I tried to write a joke about this. It's always too complicated, but basically I did. I thought I was gay. I never even made out with a woman. I decided I was gay, and that was why I was depressed. I was like, oh, I'm depressed because I'm closeted. I the part of it was that I hadn't had sex in 2 years. I think I'd had sex in like 2008 or 7. I had moved to Korea in 2007, slept with someone in 2008 in Korea, a friend of mine. And then I left and moved to Portland, Oregon, which was a sexless place, which that makes a lot of sense to me in retrospect. I don't want to have sex in Portland. Like, I want to go walking, but I'm not like, oh, what a hot town. I'm like, these are gorgeous trees. This is a great place for a bike ride. But there's no, I don't know. I think it might be different now. I was going to say there's no grittiness. Not that grit makes me specifically horny, but I don't know. There's just nothing about it that made me feel it. But also, I was working a lot. I worked at a horrible place where I was fundraising. I was getting paid to fundraise for like, not Greenpeace, but the equivalent, League of Conservation Voters or American Civil Liberties Union, Planned Parenthood. Some people don't like that. I don't think that those people will be listening to my podcast, but even if they are, that's fine. My good friend James McCann would be like, oh, Eve, no. That's what he would say. Oh, no, they kill the babies. That's what James would say. And I would say, only the bad ones, James. Only only the bad babies. But I was working all the time. The company that I worked for was like a paid fundraising organization. It was kind of culty. They really exploit you while you're trying to like save the world, basically. And sorry, I'm having a moment where, it is a weird experience. I know that you're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to talk about how you're talking to a camera. I have moments where I go, what am I fucking doing? Like, I'm just looking at my iPhone camera on its side, which looks like a little face, right? With the 3 circles. It's like, and then you go, who am I talking to? Am I talking to me? Am I talking to God? Am I talking to Hannah? Probably. Am I talking to my father? Sweet Jesus, I hope not. Anyway, I lived in Portland, Oregon. I was not horny. I moved to South Korea. I moved back to Korea. And I was living in Seoul. And I just was in a weird place and I didn't know how to like meet foreign people. I think I tried dating Koreans, but that was never a good thing for me. It's hard enough for me to date men in a culture, like in a Western culture where they're used to women, like, I don't know, making their own decisions. Trying to date a Korean man was like just one guy. I have a joke about him, but I won't go into the joke because I love the joke. So you have to see me if you want to see the joke. But we met at a bar and we were texting and whatever. And he was like, we should see each other again. I would like to see you again. Why don't I come over to your apartment and you can make me dinner? I was like, what? Like, or we could go on a date. And he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't have time for a date. And then I was like, okay, well, I guess I won't be seeing you again. And then this was like the night. So then we had a day that we had originally planned on meeting. And so I was like, okay, I guess that's off. And then that day he said, oh, hi, I'm leaving town tomorrow, which he had told me. I still don't have time for a date, but I could come over and you could make me dinner. And I was like, no. So in the midst of all this, I was like, I haven't had sex with any men. I'm so depressed. I'm gay. It made sense at the time. I was like, I'm gay. Prop 8 was happening in California where they had like legalized gay marriage and then immediately overturned it or whatever. And so I was like, never having really had any feelings for a woman, I decided that I was just closeted because I actually really did blame my dad, which I was like, my dad's older. He's homophobic. He's actually not homophobic. Like it's, although I have a fun story about something with my dad after. But I was like, that's why I'm depressed, is because I'm gay and I don't feel like I can really be myself. And so I decided this whole thing, and I started coming out to people and being like, I'm gay. And my friends were like, are you sure? And then one of my friends was like, well, you've always seemed very dykey. She said that word. And I was like, I don't know if we're there yet that you can start telling me that I seem dykey. Like, what the hell? And then I went to a gay night, a lesbian night. I think I joined like a Sappho Facebook group, or Sapphic, it was like a lesbian group. And they were like having a board game night, of course. And it was terrible. And I was like, oh, I know what it was. I ended up calling my dad. I hadn't told him I was gay, but I had been like, I'm going to tell him and he's going to reject me. And I got really drunk. And I guess it was, my dad's 91, so it was exactly 16 years ago, because I called him on his actual 75th birthday, and he just turned 91 last week. Did I say 16 years ago? Yeah. And it says 2010. And I was like, happy birthday. And he was so happy to hear from me. And I'm like, he goes, how are you? How are you, kid? And I was like, I'll tell you another time. I don't want to ruin your special day. And my dad was always like, he's always like, are you pregnant? What's wrong? Like, that's his big thing. Are you pregnant? And I'm like, no, I don't want to talk about it. And then he starts panicking. And I was like, fine, I think I'm gay. And then he just paused for not even that long. And he was like, well, you're my daughter. I don't care. Whatever makes you happy. And as soon as he said that, and he was like, I love you, doesn't matter, I was like, God damn it, I'm not gay. Like, I'd built it up so much. I was so excited to resolve myself through the turbulence. And it just wasn't real. This is, by the way, part of why I think, and I know I'm making like I'm drawing a long bow here, but part of why I think that kids should not be able to become trans, or like use hormones or have surgery until they are of age. Because I was like 26, and I was turning 26 in 2010. And I was a fucking idiot. I was just mad. I was horny. I didn't know about, I was horny, but I was depressed and I wasn't meeting people, and I felt ugly, and I was lonely and mad at my family, all this stuff. And you can just be like, well, I know what the reason is. It's because I'm gay. But you could do that too for being like, I hate my body. And when you feel depressed, you always hate your body. So it's like a very, not easy, but it's not a far thing to reach for. It's not like the craziest thing to be like, well, if I could just cut off these big ass tits, then I would be happy. Or if I had tits, then I'd be happy. And I'm not saying that nobody's trans. It's just kids who are insane. All kids are insane at some point, like they just lose their shit for no reason. And you're like, what the hell? And they're like, oh, sorry, I don't know what happened. It's like, yeah, you're insane. You're temporarily insane. You have surges of hormones going through your body. You don't know anything. So I just am like, as much as I support kids and all this stuff, I just can't, you can't be giving kids hormones and having surgery. You can't take a kid's word for anything except for like, this thing makes me feel sad. This, if someone was like molested, there we go. I said molested. Pedophile, I've already said molested. That's my second bingo thing. I should make a bingo card for the things I cannot help but talk about on this podcast. Of course, James McCann is one of those. He's not going to like being in that group of molested, pedophilia, James McCann. There's got to be something else I talk about. Sex, horny. Yeah, poor James. I'm not saying that he's categorically similar. It's just that I talk about that on every episode. Anyway, so yeah, I'm not gay, but the point of this is that during that time I was reading a lot of Lao Tzu. So here we go. that's the way that I didn't forget the thread. I was talking about Lao Tzu. That's how we got into this. Okay, I'm just going to open at random. 43, the age my mom was when she died. That's the page I opened to at random. It's like the 43rd, I don't know, proverb? I don't know what you call it. The gentlest thing in the world overcomes the hardest thing in the world. That which has no substance enters where there is no space. This shows the value of non-action. The first part I understood. The gentlest thing in the world overcomes the hardest thing in the world. Fine. That which has no substance enters where there is no space. That one confuses me. This shows the value of non-action. Teaching without words, performing without actions, that is the master's way. I kind of get it. Some of them are pretty profound. That one, I folded down my favorites. I had not folded that down, so not my favorite. Should I do one more? What number? You pick a number. Let's choose. If I did the age my mom was when she died, I'll do the age I was when she died. Isn't this a fun game? Okay. 7. In case you didn't feel sorry for me enough, you should buy a ticket to my show. Okay. 7. The Tao is infinite, eternal. Why is it eternal? It was never born. Thus it can never die. Why is it infinite? It has no desires for itself. Thus it is present for all beings. Okay, I think I get that. The master stays behind. That is why she is ahead. I get it because he says she. She is detached from all things. That is why she is one with them. Because she has let go of herself, she is perfectly fulfilled. This one makes me feel like I should read it more. It's just about God. The Tao is infinite and eternal. Why is it eternal? A lot of people would call it the universe. Whatever. The master stays behind. That is why she is ahead. This is what I say when I'm last. I'm a slow walker. She's detached from all things. That is why she is one with them. Because she has let go of herself. She is perfectly fulfilled. The thing that's hard about these is that if you actually live this way, if you just like detach from everything and you're like, I'm just practicing the Tao. At some point you just like, I feel like you end up not really engaging with what it is to be human, you know, just to be like, well, who cares? I'm at peace. It's like, well, then I guess you're just here as an observer, I guess, because you're not going to get caught up in anything. Maybe as a teacher? I don't know. Okay, quick fuck, marry, kill. I was thinking about, okay. The fuck, marry, kill for today is I was thinking people who were canceled for kind of stupid reasons. I had a couple of them because I was thinking about Timothee Chalamet. Actually, this is something that I had really wanted to talk about. Damn it, I might have to talk about it briefly. I've seen a lot of hate on Timothee Chalamet because he made a comment about how like opera, no one cares about the opera and the ballet, which like I love the opera and I like the ballet. I go to the opera sometimes with my father. We haven't been in a couple of years, but we used to go all the time at Lincoln Center, at the Metropolitan Opera, which is like one of the best in the world. So I fucking love the opera. Okay, I'm allowed to speak on this, but he didn't say anything that's not true. You go to the opera, even the really great operas, opening night or the final night, it's half empty. My dad and I went, I had to fucking yell at somebody because she kept kicking the seat. People are stupid at the opera now. It's like, it's not what it was. I mean, I used to go when I was a kid with my dad and it was packed and everybody was dressed beautifully and all stuff. And, you know, they have this thing you can do where, because the intermissions are like sometimes 15 minutes, sometimes half an hour, but back in the day, you used to call and order your food at this like one restaurant ahead of time. And then you would have the intermission. You walk over to the restaurant, they seat you, everything you want is already there on the table. You know, when I went with my dad, I was able to just, you know, in the first intermission, I said, I'll be back. And I pretended to go to the bathroom. And then I went over to the restaurant, which was like empty. And I said, we arrange something for the next intermission? And then I ordered my dad a creme brulee. See, I'm like, now he could be watching this and he would like it. But I think if he was watching it, I've already ruined it for him, this podcast. So he won't have gotten to this part. But it would be good for him to watch this because he won't remember that I bought him that fucking creme brulee. I'm sure he'll be like, I think I paid for it. It's like, no, you paid for the tickets. I paid for us to have a nice dessert. And then you got COVID and I thought I had killed you because, we went to the opera and it was my suggestion and it was my suggestion that we go and that he pay. And then he got COVID. It was like a couple days before I think it was 2023, I want to say, or 2022. So that was one of the 80 birthdays. Yeah, he's born 1935. But anyway, he made it. So, but my point, Timothée Chalamet, people are really hating on him for saying something. I think people are really hating on him because he's dating a Kardashian, and I guess he's a bit annoying now, but I just think it's so weird that we as a culture have so little self-awareness about who we choose to hate. We elected a horrendous person, and Trump, obviously. And the thing is, I also think that like people are too obsessed with Trump sometimes. Like I just find it crazy that, the whole Trump derangement syndrome thing that Trump himself has named to deflect any responsibility for his horrible everything. But at the same time, it's not totally baseless. People are obsessed with him, and it's like their day-to-day lives. They're like, well, if it weren't for him, it's like, yeah. And also you have to, just turn off the news and turn off not all the time, but just surely you can go do something that's not about Donald Trump. If it's, people make it their whole personality. The readers of the New York Times, that's another thing on my bingo card, the New York Times, because I always talk shit about the readers of the New York Times, but the New York Times comment section, people can make everything about Trump. And it's like, can you just not for a moment talk about him? Can you just read the article and not be like, well, in this country? It's like, shut up. Anyway, I think people are too obsessed with Timothée Chalamet, and I think of all the people to be mad at right now, why him? There's so many more people to drag other than Timothée Chalamet. So Timothée Chalamet is on my fuck, marry, kill list. It's celebrities who've been canceled for smaller reasons. I know Sydney Sweeney, of course, is another one. I had 4. I was going to choose 3 of the 4, and then I've just realized who was the, okay, I know. I was going to do Milli Vanilli because Milli Vanilli was canceled back in the day for lip syncing. I'm getting rid of Milli Vanilli because Milli Vanilli, I've been listening to Girl, You Know It's True. Girl, You Know It's True. Ooh, 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 I love you. Sorry, as I was singing that, I went, oh man, I forgot to record in 4K. Damn it, you're not going to be able to see every pore on my face. But I'm going to get rid of Milli Vanilli. So we're going to stick with Timothée Chalamet about his opera comments, Sydney Sweeney about her My Jeans Are Blue thing that everybody thought that she was talking about eugenics was stupid. And then Elon Musk about about his Heil Hitler salute, that like, did he do that, or was it just him being a fucking weirdo spaz? If you're listening in the UK, spaz does not mean the same thing in the US as it means in the UK. In the UK, spaz is like, or in Australia, it's like a bad word for, it's like a person who's, it's like saying retarded, which now I've said retarded, but spaz here is just like, stop being weird. Okay. People who are canceled for possibly minor infractions. Timothée Chalamet, subjectively minor infractions. Elon Musk, who says it was not a Nazi salute. Sydney Sweeney for being part of a campaign that seemed kind of flirty with white supremacy, basically. Now, do I evaluate these things? I think I have to evaluate whether I think that whether they're with or without merit. Timothée Chalamet, without merit. I think, what the hell? We're canceling him for this because he's dating a Kardashian, because he's gotten annoying, because he talked about ballet and opera. I don't care. He's a very good actor. Let the boy act, okay? Shush. Sydney Sweeney, is she a white supremacist promoting eugenics? I think she's just a dumb broad, honestly. I think she's such a smart businesswoman. She's got really big tits, and she has figured out that she can make a lot of money that way. Good for her. I think she's probably so dumb. Right? Don't you think she's so dumb? And I say that as a woman also who has big tits, but I'm brilliant. So I feel like I can tell, but I could be wrong. I don't think that she was making a comment on, because she says, like, what color are your jeans? My jeans are blue. It's because she's wearing blue jeans, but it's like supposed to be like, oh, is it about her eyes? Because we should all just be like Hitler Youth, because that's what everybody was saying. No, I don't think that she meant that way. Elon Musk, do I think he was doing a Nazi salute? I think it's impossible to know. Do I think he has, in the words of Anthony and the Johnsons, a very good song, Hitler in his heart? All I had to do was talk shit about Elon Musk, and my laptop just died. I almost shit a brick because I was like, if that goddamn audio didn't save, I'm gonna end it. But fortunately it did save. Thank God. It cut off like a minute, but I'm fine. I said he had Hitler in his heart, and my computer just shut down. The truth is, what the part that it misses, I actually went on to say, I said, does he have Hitler in his heart? Yes, for sure. Elon Musk for sure has Hitler in his heart. But then I went on to talk about Kanye West's song Heil Hitler and how a friend played it for me. And I was like, I really hate to say this, but man, this is a great song. And it really is. You don't want to think that as a Jew. Have I mentioned that I'm a Jew? Another thing that goes on the bingo card. Yeah, Jew and Hitler. I think those also go on my bingo card. But it's a great song. But yeah, so I said, I was talking about Elon Musk, and then I was talking about Kanye West, and then I said Heil Hitler, and I said it's a good song, and the computer shut down. So I'm like, is it Elon who is responsible for my computer turning off? Is it the Jews for me talking about how good that song is? I don't know. But the point is, I have to do a fuck, marry, kill. So clearly Elon. Bye. Who wants to have sex with Elon Musk? He's gray. Have you seen pictures of him? He's got gray seal skin, like seal, like not like a Navy seal, like an animal seal. Like, he's a cyborg. No. Also, he like impregnates women, I think, by just like inseminating them, like coming in jars and then inseminating like a generation of women. No, thank you. Has to die. It's not a threat. CIA, FBI, that's not a threat. That's just me in the game that is not about real life. That's what I would choose. And then who would I fuck or marry? Sydney Sweeney or Timothee Chalamet? I think pretty easy. As you know, I'm not gay. I was just depressed. But I would have to fuck Sydney Sweeney, I think, because I'm not into her. But also she's like really hot. And there's something about it's kind of weird to be like, big boobs are hot, having big boobs and thinking that. But I'm kind of like curious. I'm like, what do yours look like? That'd be fun. So fuck Sydney Sweeney, Elon Musk, and then I'm just trying to mumble it so that I don't get put on a list, and then marry Timothée Chalamet, and that would be very boring because I'm sure that he only ever talks about himself, and he'd probably be having an affair with one of the Kardashians and not really into the marriage. And he speaks French, but his French, like, if you listen to his French accent, it's like not like, he can speak it really well, but he's clearly not like the French, he's like, yeah, oui, je m'appelle, like he just speaks like a good second language French person, which I think he would say is true for him. So I think he'd be an annoying person to be married to. But of that scenario, he would be okay. And I also think that, what do I think about him? I think that he's someone that over time he will mellow and come back around. Right? Is that fair to say? I don't know. I just can't believe my computer. I'm just feeling sweet relief that my computer saved the audio, because I've been good. This has been a good episode. You don't know what a bad episode is, because you might go, oh, that one wasn't as good. It's still better than the bad ones. I'm still getting adjusted. I'm getting used to it. I think that sitting on the floor is a good move for me. I think sitting in a couch, I just get like, ugh, I don't know. I'm sitting on the floor. Maybe if you're listening to the podcast and not watching it on YouTube, if you're one of the few that can manage to resist looking at me for an hour at a time, then you don't know that I've been sitting on the floor the whole time. But I'm a floor dweller. I lived in Asia. We love the floor. I'm Asian now. I'm like Timothee Chalamet is French, although I think he actually is French, so I'm not the same. But anyway, thank you for listening, and buy a ticket to my show. My mom died. Oh, another bingo card thing. When I was a kid, so it's not that recent. But shout out to Hannah once again. Everybody, good thoughts for Hannah. We're gonna try to do a podcast when I go to London. Wouldn't that be fucking fun for the two of us to talk on camera or just audio, whatever? And shout out to me for flying internationally during a scary time. And as I say, shout out to Iran, just for not the bad people, the good ones, for carrying on. I don't think I have any listeners in Iran just yet. They're a little busy, but thank you. Can you comment on this if you like it? Some of you do. I would really be grateful. Please. Thank you. Bye. Love you.